Alright, welcome back to another episode of StichMethod. Before we begin, do this. Alright, and now let's get down to it. Using a pentatonic to make melodies is actually one of the hardest things to do if you don't understand how to do it. I know that's like the most easiest or lamest expression you've ever heard, but it's the truth. I've heard and I've experienced a lot of jams in a jam band scenario where it's your turn to take a solo, and it's just hard to make the pentatonic sound good. We usually end up overplaying and overcompensating for the fact that we don't know how to make this thing tell the story. And so today what we're going to do is use a pentatonic, and we're going to give you probably one of the hardest scenarios ever in order for you to tell a story over. And we'll talk about that in a couple seconds. Before we get into it, I want to say I released a video last Thursday. It should be popping up right about here. Also link below in the description box about how to find the melody inside of your chords. This is kind of like the same thing but with pentatonic. So if you do like this, check this out when it comes to strumming and making melodies on top of your chords. Excuse me. All right, let's get down to it. What is this hardest scenario? Well, it is a one-chord groove. A lot of the bands I like, and even the music I like to play, is when we are just kind of sitting on one chord grooving. Why is it the hardest? Well, when you have a chord progression that has multiple chords, you can move things with those chords. I've done plenty of in the mind of videos and examples of, well, he's playing this chord, okay, move the scale here, or do this and do that. But when you have one chord that's being played, that's going to sound like this, I'll show you in a second, it's really hard to tell your story because it relies solely on you. That's frightening if you don't know how to do it. So here is the backing track that we're going to solo over. Very simple. B7 chord, just like this. I literally can groove on that all day long. I love this type of stuff, but again, it's really hard. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at a pentatonic first. And so we're going to use a B minor pentatonic. I also want to say this. There's two videos. One video is going to be popping up here, and that's the first of the series, and some videos down below about how to find your pentatonics in any situation. And these two videos, one that's popping up is the minor, and you can see that there's a major one as well on my channel. Understanding how to find your pentatonic gives you a really good map of what we're going to do. All right, there's a lot to cover, so I'll stop talking. All right, so we have a B7 chord, and we're going to use a B minor pentatonic on top of it. Why? Well, because it works and because the minor pentatonic is the king of them all. And you never know when you're going to find yourself in this scenario. Now, we're going to ignore actual chord tones, believe it or not. We're just going to talk about the pentatonic. So the pentatonic that we're going to use is the basic form 1 or G-shaped pentatonic. 7, 10, 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 10, 7, 10. Now, we want to take a good look at this. This minor pentatonic consists of 5 intervals. The 1, the flat 3, the 4, the 5. The flat 7, it repeats 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3. Now what makes the minor pentatonic so special is that 4 of the notes make up a chord. And those 4 notes are the 1, the flat 3, the 5, and the flat 7. Those guys make up a minor 7th chord. And no matter what type of minor, I know you're probably, well, why are we talking about that? Why are we talking about a minor chord when we're playing a B7? Don't worry about it. The pentatonic, when you have those 4 notes together, you're playing a minor 7th chord arpeggio. And we're going to learn what each one of those provides on top of a jam. And so let's just get down to it. If I have this jam here, we are going to play, I'm going to play right now what it sounds like to come home. The most important piece of any practice and any scale is learning how to come home. And the note that's responsible for home is number 1, the root note. What you want to practice doing right now is you want to practice playing with intent and listening to what you're doing, but coming home. Coming home is what ends the sentence. It's what makes the crowd cheer, and if you don't practice it, you're going to feel lost. So I'm going to take this pentatonic, and I'm going to just look first at these homes. And we're going to talk about those chord arpeggios I mentioned inside the pentatonic one at a time, but let me show you what it sounds like to come home. Really quickly, I came home, you might have noticed me slide this flat 7 up to a 1. I like that move better. I like the timbre better than this. But I went to this note right away to show you that that was the same note. And so you can hear that when you practice coming home to the 1 a lot, that has a grounding. The 1 in a pentatonic is home, it grounds you, and you can always phrase in these little tiny pieces and end with a home root note to bond with your music. A lot of the jam band guitar players I like, start off with a groove just like this, where you're priming the audience and you're just saying, hey, we're together on this, don't be frightened, and I'm gonna kind of play a little bit, it's gonna sound good, but I'm always gonna bring you home. Let's talk about the next interval. The next interval is the flat 3. Now check this out, you have a flat 3 here, all right, and you have a flat 3 here, and you have the flat 3 here. Now what's interesting about the flat 3 is it is responsible for the sound of the minor pentatonic. It is a minor third, it's why it's called a minor pentatonic. It is the essence of the entire scale. And with this we can really punch some flavor with it. What's also really cool and acceptable in any scenario is you can take the third and you can always what we call like do a micro bend or a curl, where we're just kind of pulling it towards a major third. And this right here creates enough balance, kind of like you're walking past someone, you kind of kick their knees out and they go, whoa, all right? Don't do that. I don't know why you would do that, but that's the analogy I came up with. And the idea is this little thing, you can totally play a minor third, you can also give it a little curl, home. So what we're going to do now is we're going to practice coming home a little bit, and then I'll say, okay, listen to the minor thirds, and we want to, start ending on a minor third and starting on minor thirds, maybe coming home. This is a fine dance, okay? And what I want to say is this, actually. I know I talk a lot, I'm so sorry. This is very cerebral right now. We're learning it and saying, oh my God, we got to think about it. And the more you practice thinking about it, the more you'll be able to do this second nature, all right? You want to be able to practice this so much that you just can do this. Speaking of practice, come check me out on Patreon. We're going to have a lot of practice sessions designed on this exact topic. So let's talk about hitting those minor thirds. Let's listen and look for them. Here we go. I said I was going to call them out. Totally didn't, but hopefully you saw it and heard it. I started to incorporate minor thirds. That is the twang of the entire pentatonic. And so we're going to move forward, but you should stop here and pause and just lay down a B7 chord just like this and sit and kind of practice with me on this video and then, come back and learn more. We're going to get now to my favorite interval of them all, which is the 5. I have a video called The Power the 5 Compels You. In my blues classes, I talk about how it moves, and here it is no different. And also the video I mentioned that I did last week, same exact thing. The 5, the interval 5 is what creates the movement and the tension in the pentatonic, no matter what you say. So, I don't know why I said that. All right, and so let's just talk about where the 5s are. It's really, really intriguing. This is where the pentatonic starts to take shape. So we have the 1, the flat 3, the 4, and we have a 5 here. Great, okay? Then we have a flat 7, a 1, a flat 3, a 4, and a 5 here. But I want to draw your attention to the 4. It is always a great idea to take the 4 and bend it up to a 5. Because since 5 is the tension spot, well, what better way to kind of celebrate that and enhance it with a bend? People can really hear bends, and you're not going to say, ooh, he's bending. It's just bending causes tension. And so sometimes you might want to, or, and it's up to you. So now let's listen to the 5s. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play, I'm going to start off with my 1s. I'm going to bring in the minor 3rds. These are all part of the minor pentatonic. They all make a minor 7th chord. They all have their job to do. And now we're going to hit those 5s and listen to how badly those 5s want to come back home. I mean, they do. If you sit on the 5 for too long, people are going to get angry. You might want to do that. Who knows? Here we go. Quick example of what you can hear. I stayed home right at the beginning, brought in those minor 3rds, and then I went to the 5s to create movement, to create tension. And again, I hope this doesn't sound like too much, but you really can do this as you practice this, all right? And so the 5s always want to move back to a 1, and we're going to show you a cool move here in a couple seconds. Now we're going to talk about the last note, the flat 7. Okay, you have a 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. And now this flat 7 is another note that wants to badly go home to a 1. It is so close to 1. So hanging on to flat 7 also creates tension. And a lot of my favorite guitar players will dance between the 5 and the flat 7 and take it to a 1. And so here's another flat 7, 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. This one bends nicely up to this one, or slides. Any which way. Sorry, I created a little bit of tension there. And so now, I want to explain a couple of things. We'll talk about the 4 in a second. You have a root note, and then every chord, you're probably like, why are we talking about chords again? But these are chord tones inside of the pentatonic. It is a minor 7th chord tone inside of it. It's how you tell your story. And the pentatonic is there. And you have a root note, which is home. You have your minor 3rd, which is a fair distance away from your root note. Then you have your 5, a bigger distance away from home. And then you have your flat 7, an even bigger distance from home. So as you want to build more tension, build movement through your pentatonic, you want to think, okay, how far away can I get from home before I come home? This is all about tension and release. So now I'm going to play a solo. I'm going to bring in the 1s at the beginning, play it with a little bit of minor 3rds, get to the 5, add some tension, and kind of hopefully do a Barney Stinson wait for it type moment, and hopefully you get the reference, and see if we can bring in that flat 7, create a little bit more tension. Here we go. Really quickly, I just started to take off there. Also missed a note, but who cares? All right, and so hopefully I'm telling my story, or our story, really well where you can understand it, and you want to practice this stuff. I will say this, the 5 and the 7, that tension really wants to move. So if you can hunt down your pentatonics mentioned in those videos that I talked about earlier, also linked below, you can use that 5-7 to jump to a higher root note and start again. And people love that. It's like climbing a ladder. It's actually like watching somebody climb a ladder and then they like almost fall and they're on the rung and the whole crowd's like, oh. And then when you all of a sudden they get their footing and they go up another story. And so I'm just going to do that really quickly and show you what I mean. After the form 1 comes the form 2. And we have this, I'll show you really quickly. 12, 10, 12, 10, 11. This is my little form 2. All right, I'm going to do the same thing right here. All right, here's my root note. Here's my flat 3rd. Here's my 4. This 4 I can bend to a 5. flat third, 1, flat 7, and 5. All right. Tons of videos on my channel have all these intervals laid out, okay? I might list a ton below to check out. And you can do this with any genre. All right, so here we go. I'm going to use that 5-7, not right away, but to slide up to my new root note and solo in a new place. Here we go. So we're going to end really shortly, really quickly. Hey, Ian, what was that 4 about? Well, the 4 can be bent to a 5. Well, not here, but the 4 can be bent to a 5. It also is made for movement. There's no reason you can't start on the 4. And it is really tense. In jazz, it's actually called an avoid tone, but you can use that to your advantage, and you can actually add a little bit of tension to kind of move through music. So let me give you that example. We're going to include all of our notes in the pentatonic, even though this isn't a chord tone. That 4 has 3 purposes. Number 1, bend it to a 5. Number 2, just move through it. Number 3, hold on to it and listen and see if it creates a little bit of tension to move back home. Here we go. Sorry, I got lost, but there was the 3 examples. Move through it, bend it to the 4, bend the 4 to the 5, or sit on it. So now we've talked about every interval in our pentatonic. I'm going to recap right here. The 1 is home. The flat 3 creates the flavor of the scale. You can use it to add, salt to your dish, and it loves to come back home to a 1. It's the smallest amount of distance from a 1, but it's still yet powerful. The 4 is not one of the chord tones we discussed, but it's still a good a good pentatonic note to create some tension. We can use it to sit on it for a little bit and come home to a 1. We can use it to bend up to the 5. We can use it as just a flowing passing tone. The 5 creates a lot of tension. The flat 7, even more tense when you want to come home to the 1. Now it is up to you to sit and listen and practice and understand that the more you think about it now, the less you'll think about it when you're on stage or when you're playing with someone. It'll become natural. And so I just wanted to make this quick video. It's kind of like the next level from that video I made last Thursday. And you know what? I have so much stuff about pentatonics on my channel. I have a pentatonic mastery playlist. I have a blues primer playlist, which is all about the pentatonics. I'll list some things below, but thank you so much for being here. Check out the Patreon. I can't thank you enough for being here already. And I'll talk to you soon on another episode of StichMethod. Bye-bye.